Welcome in.
Welcome back to Do It for the Story. I'm Morgan.
I'm Stacey.
And just want to tell y'all, today, if you're watching,
Big
you can see
day on diffs.
You can see that we have our champs here. It's because this is our 20th episode. Popping bottles. Woo, 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 woo.
Cheers.
Cheers to us.
To us.
A little of our, let's go give it, because we really do like this non-alcoholic champs.
This is a non-alcoholic champs.
We need to know what this is actually called. Free, fry, however they pronounce it.
It's a goodie.
It's a goodie.
We've gotten feedback from others who've tried it.
Mm-hmm. But yes, we wanted to say thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you for all of the support, whether you've just come across us or you've been here since the beginning.
Yep.
This is to us. This is to
Cheers.
The Diffs crew.
And some of you may be listening being like, I mean, it's 20 episodes. What's the big milestone? It's a milestone. One, motivation for us, right? But fun little tidbit. In the podcasting world, a lot of like podcasting consultants and just in industry say like 10 is your number. Because it's a lot of work. It takes, planning. We have real job. You get it. Morgan has a child. That they say 10 is usually where they see people drop off. And like they just give up the podcast. So you'll see, even if you're trying to start your own, especially when you're looking for a name, which is real difficult, you may see a lot of podcasts that you're like, okay, they haven't been recording in a while, or only did like 4 episodes, 5 episodes. But once you start recording, you get why.
Yeah.
I mean, we love doing it.
We love
Obviously, that's why we're
doing
here.
it. And but that's what they say, the consultants.
And shout out to Brad,
Shout
our
out to
amazing
Brad,
producer, who helps make life a lot easier
Thank
for
you
us.
for editing too, and for our last minute edits as well.
Train Sound Studios, if you're looking for a producer. Don't take our time away, but we do want you to support Brad.
But no, yeah. So we just want to say thank you so much. And that, like Stacey said, while you will see other podcasts fall off, but we're in this for the long haul. We are obsessed with doing this. We're having fun. So what we're going to ask you is, if you haven't yet, because we've had many friends, family, acquaintances, new listeners say, oh my God, I love the pod. Haven't had a chance to rate it. I also had never rated a podcast until we started a podcast. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is the easiest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, and we get it too, because it's like a review. You only really usually review things when you've had a bad experience, like at a restaurant or something. That's usually, but reviews are so important because it's also like a recommendation, but it's also part of the algorithm, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Here's a quick tutorial. I'm going to use On Purpose with Jay Shetty. We love our boy Jay, another great podcast. If you're watching, if you're doing this on Spotify, super easy. The 3 little dots when you're on the podcast, I'm doing this with my phone, it'll say rate show, and you'll see a little star. Click on said star, and it will take you to another screen that has 5 stars that aren't filled in. All you need to do is click the last star, and all 5 stars will be highlighted.
All 5 stars will be highlighted.
And then you click submit. Boom, 20 seconds. So not a big ask for you, but it means a lot to us and to our platform.
Yep.
But it's very easy to do it on Apple too. So please, actually, if you're someone that listens on Spotify, maybe like if Apple listen next time. So that way you can
rate it there too.
Rate it there too. Once you listen to the episode, I think I have to listen to these. You just click on same thing. You can review show, and it's same 30 seconds.
Not even. It takes 2 seconds.
Get it.
But you get it, and we need it, and we appreciate you. So, 20th episode. Stace gets back from a little vacation.
Yes.
And, I say, let's catch us up. Let me know what happened on vacay. Want to hear all the things.
Yeah.
And there was a little something at a little
I need to get
something
better.
at the rental that they were staying at, which has inspired this episode. So, Stace, why don't you just start us there? Where did you go on vacay, and what inspired this?
Sorry, I'm moving around. I'm like stuck in my sweat. No, so yes, went on vacay. It was 4th of July week. Happy Independence Day. or I'll say happy birth. I don't even know. The real Independence Day is Juneteenth because
Right, exactly.
we
All
work
of
for
us
them,
were
so we get that.
independent.
Go
Yada,
back and
yada,
listen to other episodes.
Mhm.
But Joe and I went to Eleuthera, Bahamas. Our wedding anniversary was July 3rd. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Totally.
Our COVID engagement. And Eleuthera is gorgeous, stunning. If you haven't been, put it on your list. And so we're at this little amazing Airbnb beach bungalow. And of course, the guy there was so thoughtful, had all the toys and things. One of the water toys he has.
And maybe it was actually, now that I think about it, go ahead. But yeah,
Well,
it wasn't even a toy. Maybe
well,
it
no,
was
I thought that
functional.
too,
Yeah.
but it was kind of weird because it's not like there was like a boat there or anything. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you could pull some, but I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
back to what it was.
Anyway, there was a lifeguard tube there.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the kind, and I'll post a photo of it. Think more swimming pool, not Baywatch buoy. Everybody knows. I don't have to explain it to you. Baywatch
I think they call
cannon.
it
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the lifeguard tube was there at this house, and I'm like, this is hysterical because Morgan and I have been talking about summer. Obviously, we get nostalgic. We spent our summers from 16 to 22 lifeguarding. So we had talked about when we were in the Outer Banks, actually with our oldest sister, Lynn's, we wanted to do another recording there because she was a guard. We were guards with all the girls, sisters.
All the sisters. Yep.
So anyway, I see this lifeguard tube. I'm like, dude, this is it. This is a sign that this is the next episode. So of course, it's also a great flotation device. It's like this heavy foam. If you're a lifeguard, you know you spent many summers just floating on those bad boys. But of course, I had to have fun with it. And where we were staying was like on this gorgeous sandbar. Literally, Sports Illustrated did a shoot there like a couple years ago. Yeah. So I made Joe, obviously. I was like, content husband.
Yeah, exactly.
He willingly obliged, very happily. So yeah.
So what we're getting at here is today, for the 20th episode, you are about to hear some of our lifeguarding stories.
Lifeguards.
And for those that lifeguarded with us, with several of our very close friends, you're already laughing because of the absolutely ridiculous experiences that we had. I mean,
Hysterical.
we guarded there. I think I guarded there for like 8 years. It was
Was it
extreme.
that
It
long?
was seriously.
Well, okay. So
Anyway.
you can start guarding when you're 16, at least in Maryland.
Mhm.
And then we transitioned over to the Vista when
I
you
graduated college.
You were going.
I
you
had
'cause
graduated.
It was the summer of
I just
after my
counted
freshman
7
year.
years at Cunningham.
Wow, Cunningham
Falls
Falls State Park. So before we get into like the Cunningham portion of it. So Cunningham Falls State Park, I'm sure many of you have heard of it that are in the DMV. It's where it's a lake. It's a state park, obviously the name, but it's a lake. So
It's a man-made lake.
Man-made lake. So that's why too. If you're watching, you'll see Morgan and I are decked out in our vintage sweatsuits. Yes, we kept them, and other guards on the team. I hope y'all did too.
We all did too.
Okay.
They're great.
But
Very
it
comfy.
says, you can see my little patch, Maryland Park Service Beach Patrol.
Yep.
So, cred. Yeah, we were waterfront guards.
Waterfront
No big
guards.
deal.
But I
Basically
think
Baywatch.
before we even get into our Cunningham time, we should probably just set the tone with how we did become water girls. We started our youth. We started swimming as infants. We would spend
Yes.
every single day of the summer
Yeah.
at Fort Ritchie Pool
Literally.
with our mom and our grandparents.
Yep.
And our mom had guarded at Fort Ritchie with some of the Seton girls who you heard in our previous parent episode.
Yeah. Mom's best friends.
Mom's best friends. And so they went from, we were, of course, always, when you're a little kid, you're looking up to your mom. So we were already like,
Yeah.
that was amazing. We wanted to be guards. But then also we were 90s kids that were watching Baywatch.
And I have to pause really
Yeah.
quick for you, just because you'll hear us say or you've heard us say different times the term water girls. We are water girls. We love being outside. We love the water. We love the nap. I got to give credit here where it's due. Our very good friend, a daughter of one of the Seton girls, Kate, coined the term water girls at our friend Warren's bachelorette party up at Deep Creek where she's like, I'm a water girl. I'm going to be in the water the whole day. And anyway, we had a ball.
Literally 8 hours. It was clocked.
Yeah. We just coined the term. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it seems to really be sticking. We're
big
hoping
time.
that is going to be the name of the Cease boat. We haven't named her yet, but we keep calling her Water Girl. I've told Kate I'm working on it. I'm hoping I can get Kate down in Annapolis for the naming when we actually do that. So
fingers crossed, everybody. And we'll do a whole, maybe we'll have to go live when
Joe likes the name too. He's cool with it.
It's perfect.
It's fun.
It's perfect. But so Kate's mom was a lifeguard at Fort Ritchie
with our mom.
So,
mom taught us how to swim when we were like 2, legitimate.
Yes.
2, 3. We were good.
Yeah. So we were swimming but we lived in an area where there was no swim team. So our big thing was just swimming on our own, living in, and also at Fort Ritchie, there was a lake as well. So we would, between the lake and the pool, we were very used to the outdoor, there's a difference between, and every lifeguard that has been in natural waters, there's a difference between guarding and swimming in a lake or an ocean versus a pool. So we had been used to that water from a very young age. And it also is a sweet summer job. Let's be real. And our mom also always pitched it to that too. So shout out Dre. Thank you for that. Because it's like, you're outside, you're with your friends. It is a seasonal job. So at least for us, we played at least 3 sports throughout the year. So we didn't have a lot of time for working during the school year. It was a job that it always needed to fill seats. And it wasn't, because we didn't have a swim team and stuff, it wasn't easy to find lifeguards locally. In our area. We have a love for the pool, love for swimming, young age. Like Stacey said, mom was hyping us up that it was a great job, great pay. It's a life skill. Yeah. You learn, how to obviously save a life, but build, the confidence in the water. And so we all get our certs, and we end up, deciding, hey, we're going to be lifeguards. Yeah. But I will say, as I started to mention before about Baywatch, it was like we knew we wanted to be lifeguards, not only because of mom, but Baywatch was big when we were kids in the 90s. And we played Baywatch.
Huge. Oh, we played Baywatch all the time. And we didn't play Baywatch. We didn't just play Baywatch at the pool.
No.
We played Baywatch at home. And I specifically remember, you get your swimsuits pre-summer, right? I remember mom getting us all. We had literally matching bathing suits that were so 90s. Now everybody would be obsessed. They were like a neon. The top of them was neon. The bottom was like a bright pink. It was a one piece with cutouts. The belly was cut out and it had a cutout back. And it was like a sporty suit. Looked like it would be like a body glove thing now.
Oh, absolutely.
But we loved that they were matching.
Yep.
And that it was sporty because we were like, those are our Baywatch suits.
Oh.
And we would play. Our parents had these huge forsythia flowering bushes that were like gigantic. We would pretend those were the waves, and we'd stand in front of those and be like, we had our roles. Do you remember what character you played?
Oh, absolutely. I was CJ.
Of course, Morgan was CJ.
Unzip
your shirt.
I know, right? I literally...
Morgan was CJ.
Oh, my God.
I played Summer a lot. If you know, you know. And I think Kiki did Stephanie. Well, we had a couple switching roles. Because I can't remember. I'm blanking. I feel like Yasmin Bleeth.
Yes, you're right. But
her role, Kiki played her a lot. Kiki was Yasmin.
Kiki was always great about just going with the flow, typical middle child, because I'm pretty positive she also played Hobie at times.
I'm dead. I'm dead. Yeah, and we probably, and because there's times when we needed a boy. But
Absolutely.
We also we had huge crutches on, I loved Matt. I loved Eric.
You've recently rewatched that. I don't remember it as well.
That's the thing.
We need to do a whole other episode. Yeah, we need to do a whole other episode on the rewatch.
I don't even know what the channel is, but sometimes like on analog, how there's those random channels. On our TV upstairs, it's just the Samsung smart TV that has a random Samsung TV guide. One of the channels, it plays Baywatch 24/7.
No.
Yes. It's Baywatch reruns. So that's why one night, our friends, Warren and Ben, were over, and all of our jaws dropped because I was like, you guys, Watch 30 seconds of this and you will know why every woman you know born in this time period has body dysmorphia.
Well, and I remember you told me, and again, this is a whole other conversation that we will have to probably do another pod about.
So good. We should do a rewatch.
We should do a rewatch and then talk about it. But they weren't allowed to gain any weight.
No.
They literally were put on a scale
their contract.
And in their contract. So
it could fluctuate maybe like literally like 3 pounds.
So that was the other thing too. Over years of being in these roles, and you know, there's no social media. We don't know any of this. We're just seeing these perfect bodies on these women that we're idolizing because they're lifeguards. And it was on at a time during the day that we totally could watch it.
No, it wasn't even.
I thought it was on at like 7,
8 o'clock. But that was thinking early, yes, where we could watch it.
Yeah, we were.
And watching this, the amount, I mean, again, I could take so much time, but I'll just say the funniest things now watching it back, which we always played were, and I was telling Joe about this, Stacey, my Joe, and he was dying before we started rewatching this episode that we would play Baywatch. He's like, of course you guys did. And of course, every time we played, someone needed to give CPR and someone had to play victim. So that was the other thing too. And if you were playing victim, we would have you put water in your mouth, hold said water, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It was not how you're supposed to give CPR, that the whole thing. And then, you know, we'd have you cough and then the water.
Yeah.
Because every time it was water. They coughed up all that water. Anytime they pulled someone out of the water. And there was also always an episode where there was like nude sunbathers was always a thing. They're always taking their buoy and being like, put your top on.
Always. And you know, the other thing is they were always saving people by the boat going.
Yes.
Like now that I actually am on, you know, fast motorboats, going probably approximately 15 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, and jumping off. That's not how you would ever save someone.
Jumping off, and then them
with
also
the
using the handheld oxygen, going underwater, and no goggles,
no
mask, and they're free. I remember the girl was like, I can't find her. This was because I recently watched it. And they were like, you need to come back up. And she was like, I'm going again. And they show her underneath the water, eyes wide open, full salt water.
I actually want
Pacific Ocean. The water's clear.
I would love I would absolutely love for Pamela Anderson to be interviewed about how they did film that. Like, were they in the ocean underwater? Were they in a pool?
They weren't. They were in a pool.
No
they were definitely on a soundstage because it literally was clear water. It'd be like you couldn't film that in the Caribbean or in the Pacific. But anyway, so Baywatch, I'm still a huge fan.
I mean,
you can't tear yourself away. That's what was so funny. It was on when our friends Warren and Ben came over one evening, and we all just couldn't tear ourselves away because they walked in when Numi.
Yeah, Numi was great.
Numi was the one old guy, and that's what also so many things. You're like, you have an old guy that's been on for a while, older. He was balding, and then these women that aren't allowed to gain any weight,
right?
And it was him and a woman. They were having it was a montage. Oh, wait, now I'm actually getting, Numi. Numi was the older guy.
The balding.
I'm getting confused. Who was the token black guy was the cop.
The cop. I forgot what his name was.
It was him, actually, having the montage. It was the black guy. And I'm not kidding. We timed it. It went on for minutes. No talking. It was them making out. It was them, like, swirling each other in the air. I mean, the episodes are insane. They had Mitch Buchanan jumping out of an airplane with, like, a snowboard attached to his feet, and then his parachute doesn't deploy. And he's up there spinning for a montage.
Okay, we need to come back to this because we literally could go on and on.
I
want to do a rewatch.
I know, it's good.
So yes, so back to Cunningham. Oh my gosh. Well, first off, since we are going to start to talk about Cunningham, let me just do this. Good morning and welcome to Cunningham Falls State Park.
The time is now 10 a.m. and the guards are now going on duty. Some rules and regulations. It's like rules before. There's no swimming outside of the ropes.
We would go every morning. So we would go into we do this big announcement. It was the most fun thing. You get on the mic. Yep. Of course, as we know now, we clearly love being on the mic.
Everybody loved that job.
So we would, you're at the center of the beach with the guard shack. Everybody's watching, and waiting to know what to do. But also depending upon the day, that might be, hey, you're welcome. We're giving all the rules. We might also then go into, though, okay, today we're going to be giving a demonstration. Like, this job, we took it so freaking seriously.
It wasn't just that we took it seriously.
I mean, we should have. It was very serious.
The staff, and think about it, especially at a lake. You know, we laugh and you'll hear some of these stories and you'll be like, oh my God. But it was serious. You can't see more than 2 inches into the water. Yeah. So you have fucking summer camps coming all day, kids, little kids, not everybody knows how to swim, all that shit. The falls you're having to monitor. We had to do training.
Oh, absolutely.
So we would do swims. We had to do a swim test swimming in that lake.
We had to go, and this was outside of this. So we had just like,
it was a mile,
just like
right?
in a pool. Yeah. But just like, you know, we had roped off areas. One, the roped off areas were so the guards knew, like, this is my area, this is your area. But also people weren't allowed to go outside of those because it was a big lake. You know, 70 feet deep, but like in the area where you could swim, probably the deepest part was like 12 feet, like a pool.
Not even where you could swim. It was all standing. It was like maybe 8 feet.
Oh, you're right. Upon the
Sometimes
weather, absolutely, and depending
really...
upon if it was drought or not, absolutely could be.
True.
So maybe it wasn't 12, but definitely 10. I couldn't touch the bottom ways.
Yeah.
And so everything would be, you know, roped off, like with the, you know, same pool and buoy, you know, roping, whatever area designation. But so we would, as guards, would be responsible for, we were allowed to have our tubes, but we were,
we had to swim with the tube.
Yeah, we had to swim with the tube because the tube did add obviously like a draft.
But it was also just supposed to be
practice in case, you know, if you had to go, because if people were allowed to, there was boat rentals. So people could totally end up being in the water, or also you could hike and walk around the lake. Jump in
the side of the lake.
And so we had to be ready to swim like that far. But so we would have to swim a mile. So we would go from the beach to the other side of the lake and back. And we had to do it in a certain amount of time. We would also have to run up to the falls and back in a certain amount of time. We would run the fire trail up and back.
Yep.
We would run from South Beach to North Beach.
Yeah, we would work out. And this was also like during our most fit times, because it was also
everyone there,
everybody played sports, but it was a job where we took it seriously. One, they made us, there was like protocol, the rangers and our whoever was in charge of us, the one ranger.
The beach, it would be rangers beach. And then there would be a beach manager.
Yeah. Remember? Later on.
Yeah absolutely.
And because it was serious, but we also it was a bunch of achievers. These were all the honor roll kids.
Well, and that was the funny thing.
I mean, like, I'm not saying the honor roll kids. These were all the extracurricular,
overachiever, straight A.
Everybody was, yeah.
And so those were, you know, the lifeguards. So we were taking it seriously. And it was also known that obviously, because like we just rattled off, so for those people that aren't living locally in Maryland, Cunningham Falls, there are actual waterfalls. And so people would go up, and before they built up the path that you could not even access the falls, and technically even you still could if you want to walk off of it. But people would totally go up the falls and go down them, sliding down them. I had as a child, and jump into the water. So I definitely had a few times where I had to run up.
One time together, I remember, had to run with the backboard up to the falls because somebody broke their leg.
Yep. And then I had
another backboard was made in like 1970. It was like fucking oak.
It was oak. It literally was. And then I had another time where a kid fell, had a gash in his head off of the falls. And
you're like 16, like, oh my God. Like when something happens, you're like, shit.
I mean, you do go into adrenaline kicks in, but so we're the ones that are, you know, these overachiever kids, these athletes, but the staff. Okay, so let's again, for those that aren't in the DMV, that haven't gone to Cunningham Falls State Park, this beautiful, you know, park lake at the top of a mountain down the way from Camp David, if you have not gone, this is what you can envision. So yes, beautiful atmosphere, but like the staff and everyone around us that worked at Cunningham, it was think of probably Mixed-ish meets,
I would say start with Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. Yes.
Think Parks and Rec if it was like taking place in a state park with rangers being, you know, Parks and Rec. And then with us, mixed with mixed-ish.
Mixed-ish. Oh, and like Kenny Powers.
And Kenny Powers.
For the total, like, for the patrons.
Yes, the patrons, but also still some of the staff.
And some of the staff. Absolutely. And exactly. And so that's the thing. The Parks and Rec staff would be more Kenny Powers leaning.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about that. Because now thinking back, we knew it was insane then when we were like high schoolers and, you know, college working there. But okay, so the Rangers were managing us, at least when I started.
Yeah, there were certain Rangers that were
there was one
in
that was
charge
like
of the guards.
Beach manager, like it wasn't even beach manager, but whatever, in charge of the guard. And those Rangers. Okay, I don't even know where to start. What's the funniest thing? Okay, so they had a Ranger office.
Yes, that's probably because I'm literally flashing back to my interview in the Ranger office.
Yes.
And seeing the cartoons on the wall.
Yes, there were racist cartoons on the wall. And when we're talking racist, it was like blackface.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, you know, we just want to.
And again, we haven't been there in
we don't know
decades.
Who hung them up because it's
no
also
idea
think
who works
of an
there
old
now.
office.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone that used to work there is absolutely retired. But yes.
So there was just that. Nothing, but we'll just posted that. There was just that on the wall.
That was the undertone.
We saw it. We're like, okay. But the only times we really would have to go to the Ranger office, we'd have to get gas for the boat because on this lake, you could only use electric power engines if you brought your own boat. But the lifeguard boat was probably like a 25 horsepower outboard motor. I actually know it was an Evinrude.
It was.
There were two boats. The one was an Evinrude and the other one was a Mercury. And so think of like a lawnmower if you're not familiar with, like we had to pull to start. So we didn't just have to have our lifeguarding certification for this. We also had to have our boating license to be able to work there. So I'll put a post-it on the boating license part. I'll come back to that, but I'm going to stick with the Ranger piece for now. So the only time you had to really go to the Ranger office would be if you had to fill up gas, because that's where like the little gas station was. And the one morning I remember going in there with one of the guards, not a sister, to get gas, because we kind of purposely used to have him go with it. And he would escort us.
Yes.
He knows who he is. Mm-hmm. And because we were like, this is weird. And he was like, every guard thought this was like, we are living in a satire right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And we go in and the Rangers were bragging about how the night before they had used night vision goggles to look at campsites to confiscate paraphernalia, like somebody's bowl cannabis, and like a bag of weed. Yeah. And we were, of course, at the time, we're like, oh
my God, I just remember.
But every guard, I shouldn't say every guard, most of us were spending the weekends doing the same thing.
Oh, totally. So we were like, you are kidding me. They're wearing night vision goggles to like catch these people. But also, you know what I just remembered? Didn't they shoot an animal as well?
Yeah, wasn't there a dog? They thought it was like a wolf or something or a coyote, and it was a dog. Crazy. It wasn't a real. I think it was someone's domestic. Because now
there were absolutely like wild bears and everything, and we would see the bear poop and everything.
Yeah,
but I am actually almost positive they shot an animal.
Yeah, I'm almost positive too. Where they were like, "Oops, we thought this was a coyote," because they would just get so excited to use their guns. I think.
And just apply their force,
because
it was a very low key.
Well, what we know too, okay, so if you go to any lake, especially one in this area, like this is a migration path for any kind of duck, flying bird. So it's like when we were kids at Fort Ritchie, there was duck poop everywhere on the grass, right? There was that at Cunningham, but the Rangers used to come in early before the park was open to anybody, before we were on duty, and they would shoot at ducks that would come onto the lake to scare them away.
Because they didn't want the lake to be covered in
and say it didn't
the beach.
It did, but we were like, is that allowed?
Yeah,
you don't even have any. There was no decoys, nothing. Just we've handled it.
We're
gonna go handle it. So, but there was that with the Rangers, and I also remember that. So when the boats. Best part of the job was being able to be on boat duty because there's different stations, right?
Well,
you rotate.
It's tough. We got to talk about the stations, we'll probably do. We can do a full detail of the stations, but also I love the board. When
it would rain, anybody who knows, if you're in think of a rowboat that has a motor on it. it fills up with water. The only way to get the water out is if you like literally throw a pump in there. But the easiest way to do it was to be there's a plug in the back of the rowboat and then full throttle that bad boy
from one end of the lake to the other.
One person in the front of the rowboat.
Yep.
Somebody on the back and full throttle it. And then of course we would be like, oh, it's so water because it was fun. And the Rangers were like, okay.
We would go as fast as we could with across from just repeatedly.
Yes.
Going as fast as we could. So all of the water would come out it would drain out of the boat because that's the only way. Obviously, if you have the plug out and you're just sitting there, it's going to fill up with water.
I remember screaming on that thing too. And like, woo! Like we acted like no one could hear us. And the Rangers like, everything okay? We're like, oh yeah. Like there's just, it rained a lot.
Well, and so when Stacey's saying everything okay, we had radios.
Yes.
So
this was the radios were a big component of the job.
The radios were like, I mean, we might need to write a sitcom, to be honest, because this entire experience was beyond. But yes, so the radios. So first of all, the radios are from like 1970. They're all breaking.
Yeah.
But there were certain ones that we knew were really good. And those would, the ones that worked well would be at certain stations that we knew really needed, always needed help. And then the ones that weren't as good, we'd use as a backup or would be in this location or whatever. And so everyone had a number. So when you were on the radio, you were not calling someone's name just like in any other, profession that you use a radio.
Yeah.
You have a number. And so our numbers were in order of the boss. So Jinxie was boss lady. Our older sister Lynn.
Yeah, because she was when I was guarding.
When you were guarding, not when I started.
Manager.
She was beach manager, but she had gotten promoted.
Top rank.
And then so I was right behind her. So she was top
rank
rank
was
at
your
850.
number?
So my number was 851.
Ah, big ups.
Big ups.
Dogs.
Big dog. And so we each had a number. What was your number?
I was 856.
856. So, and there was like 10 of us, I think, on the full staff.
Yeah, we did because we
had, I mean, literally on.
And I may have moved up after, but I remember 856
that was a big
being my
number
first
for you
number.
For a while, for a couple of years, because the same crew was there for a couple of years.
Just to give them a tidbit, this would be, what were you, 851?
Yeah.
I'll pretend I'm on the radio. 856 to 851.
851. 856, go ahead.
There's a noodle outside of Area 1. Do you mind grabbing that?
On it.
And that right there, the noodle outside of Area 1, sometimes would also us be like, you're asleep. Clearly you're asleep.
So we had codes for many things. So
we had to know the real radio codes, which were like 10-9 is repeat.
10-4 is okay.
And these are actual, like, look it up when you use a radio.
These are radio terms.
10-9, 10-4, or what was location?
Oh, yeah. What's your 10-20?
10-20. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
What's your 10-20?
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to know those, but then we would.
That would be the best would be when you do 10-20 to someone that you knew was like up in the guard office sleeping and you just screw with them so the Rangers could hear.
Because we were all teens and young 20s partying
on the weekend up
job,
until God knows whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, that was the best. Or we would see somebody walking off, like one of the guards, he would smoke a cigarette every once in a while, and then we'd do that to him. He'd say, hey, you are available to go to the guard office. But
anyway, so back to the radios. So the radios with the Rangers. So the one thing with the radio would be there, and so we've already painted the pictures of the vibe of these Rangers. So of course, as us, we want to screw with them.
Yeah.
So they would be talking to each other on the radios, and then all of a sudden you'd hear. So how about this? I'll just start talking. Hey, this is Ranger Rick. I got hey, this is, hey, Ranger 10 or 822. Seems like you're having a hard time there. You're going in and out and in and out. So that would literally be us.
Yeah.
If you would squeeze your radio.
Yeah, if you hold it down like you were going to talk and didn't say anything, it would cut out the other person. Because this is an open line, right? So think of us being on the same channel.
Everyone could hear each other in the park.
And just to be asses, when the Rangers would talk at certain times, we would hold it like we were going to talk. And then they'd be like, you're really cutting it out.
You're cutting it out. Because the thing is, they knew they didn't work. And
my favorite was that with that, because we did this not every day, obviously, it'd be too obvious, randomly. And there was one radio that was literally like 20 pounds. It was huge.
It was
tall.
probably from 1960.
And we would sit it in the guard office.
It always had to be on a charger.
There was a big guard stand on the beach too. It was like that was
the guard shack.
Closest thing we got to having a lifeguard tower like Baywatch. Was
exactly.
That guard shack. And it specifically had a brand name called the Bendix King. And I remember the one day we actually staged I can't remember why we were doing it, but like just messing with them. We just thought it'd be funny. We're like, and the one ranger's like, you're going in and out and in and out. And you just look around this, like everyone's station, you see every lifeguard like crying, laughing. And then the one ranger's like, are you on the Bendix King?
Yeah, because it was known that the Bendix King didn't work.
And we're like, or then we would be like, there's a doodle outside of area 1. That was, again, like the signal for like, come back in. 2, we were required to have watches.
Yes.
That's what else happened. We were supposed to have watches, and the rangers would get annoyed when we were on the radio and would say like, hey, it's time to rotate. And they're like, you guys need to have watches.
That's what it was. I was going to say, it wasn't that the noodle, there was definitely something if you were falling asleep, but the noodle, that's what it was. The noodle was it's time to rotate.
Right, time to rotate.
Yeah. Because they would get, they would get rotate because we were going to spend money on good watches and they'd get wet and then they break, you know?
Yeah, every 30 minutes we would rotate. And so the stations were, like Morgan was saying, they had the guard headquarter little stand. So think of like a, not as high up in height as a Baywatch lifeguard tower. And that was a station where we'd always have like 2 guards, depending on the day. 2 guards would be there because it was first aid, technically.
Yeah.
Too. And then there was, each swimming area had a lifeguard chair, and there was 2 on one side. Then there was a North Beach that was across. You had to get there by.
You could walk around or you could paddle.
But as the rotation, we would typically paddle.
Because it was also a safety check because you would paddle from one side of the lake to the other where the North Beach was.
You'd lay, and this wasn't like a stand-up. You would lay on your stomach and like a surf, like you're going out surfing.
Yeah, it's a safety board. It was thick, like paddle board.
So more on that board too. That was another ranger moment. We'll put it posted on the rescue board. But so that was a station, and then you were on the boat was a station. And then of course sometimes it was really crowded. We'd have somebody or busy weekend in the guard office as well to be on like, you know.
Because we'd send people up there for like the hypothermia, more intense. Like first aid.
Or we would have sometimes we even had people just randomly walk to the falls.
Yeah.
In 2s to just check on things. But I say put a post-it note on the rescue board. Multiple things. 1, this is a lake. I hate snakes personally.
Oh God, yeah.
And you would have to, you know, like we said, use the rescue board to go across. I'll never forget multiple times actually where it was my shift to go across to I went to put my hand down one time in the water and a snake head like pops under. Same thing happened with the snapping turtle.
Well, the snapping turtle is actually a big one. We can't brush over that because this snapping turtle was called.
Let me finish with the rescue board. Post it on the snapping turtle.
I'm gonna get myself a little champs.
Yeah. So the rescue board. Here, I'll hand it to you, and I'll take a refill as well. The rescue board was exactly that. It was a device used for saving a life or to save someone. Obviously, we'd have fun with it, and just like we said, how the one rotation was using the boat, and in the mornings when we would, you know, it would rain and we would empty this boat out and full throttle it, we also would try to make wake with it, and then we would use the rescue board as a surfboard, and we would try to like stand up on it behind the board, which you should not do. It's a big no-no.
Absolutely not.
We knew that. We didn't fucking care. We're teens. We're having fun. And we would do this before, actually, no, people were there.
In the morning.
People were there in the morning. And the rangers called us down. It was like, can you guys meet in the guard? Or we were like, oh shit, we're in trouble. Asked us to come to the guard tower, or I mean the guard stand. And so we go over there. They're like, you guys with the rescue board, it's fine if you're doing it, just not when there's patrons here. So just do that before hours.
Before or after? They said, or after they leave, we could still do it.
Yeah, they said you can just do it before there's patrons.
So I don't know because I was busy getting my champs. Did you explain that like we would be driving the boat fast to get wake and then get up on the board and
to get
surf.
wake too? You know, you quick turn it to try to get a little, because this is like a rescue boat. You know, you have to make an effort to try to get some wake. So yeah, and we'd be out there cheering and like rating each other, like, "Oh, you got it! It's the best one." And so that was the one time when they were like, "Actually, guys, you just need to." We also got in trouble for I mean, we're in high school. The one year when I started guarding, I didn't have a driver's license because you had to be 16. I worked at the lake. Kiki and I, our first year, we actually worked when I was going in my freshman year of high school in the boat shack.
I say we need to quickly.
Boathouse.
There was multiple. There was boathouse
and
concession stand,
and the Lakeside store.
And then there was the ticket person in the booth.
Lakeside Grill. Yeah, I only ever worked. Kiki and I only did rotations of.
Oh yeah, there was Lakeside.
When you
Grill
weren't, we weren't before Kiki and I were lifeguards, and it was sick because we could just carpool with Morgan and Lindsay. Lindsay drove this like 1987 Jetta stick shift, so only she could drive it. And of course, we thought it was cool because it was like old school Jetta.
Lindsay and I always wanted a Jetta.
And it had a sunroof that was like manual crank.
Yep.
Our dad was not pleased when we were like, hey, this is the car that we're getting. Because he's like, oh my God, I just see this is going to be like a problem. Yeah. Radio, we were pumped that it had this CD player the previous owner had put in it. We're like, yeah, speakers. It was the summer that Eminem dropped the Eminem Show. If you know, you know, one of the greatest albums of all time. And the radio breaks like 2 weeks into the summer. We have a boombox in the back seat with a CD player in it, blaring. And also you should just like whiz by. And the Rangers also were like, you're coming in pretty fast and you have the radio going loud, da, da, da. But we also used to save gas. Lindsay used to pop that thing in neutral and we would like cruise down the mountain. I was just thinking
the same thing. But because we were always trying to save money. And so especially, you know, on a stick shift, pop that thing in neutral, you're going down the mountain. We would, for a solid, you know, several miles. Yeah. You know, she's not putting her foot on the gas.
No. And that was one where they caught at us. But when I mentioned the rescue board, the snapping turtle.
Oh my God. So the snapping turtle, first of all, the Rangers had coined Bubba.
Oh, that's right.
Long before. And this snapping turtle was legit.
It was huge.
Were you there when
the
snapping turtle ripped the patrons?
I was on the stand. I was in the chair and go ahead.
So this snapping turtle was massive. So I got to put my drink down.
You know, a turtle is like anything. They're like almost like a prehistoric.
Yeah. So it was like this large.
The older it is, you know.
Huge. It gets bigger and bigger. And it's living in this lake where no one's, you know, hunting it. So it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This thing is massive. And
if you haven't seen a snapping turtle,
it will hurt you.
We're country girls here. Google it. You'll see literally like
the mouth and the claws. So this snapping turtle, this guy comes out of the water and he goes, something just
his shorts were shredded.
His shorts were.
I mean, I was like, holy shit, what is in this lake?
Like, I'm actually shocked that they didn't kill Bubba. I think they just loved Bubba so much.
Or they were also just
and were so mesmerized by it because
they thought it was
ripped.
funny.
I think
they did like when people would see it and freak out.
Yeah. It wasn't a small. This is the phrase you used was actually perfect of shredded. It was not a rip. You could see 3 lines like something out of a movie.
Yeah, it was
claws. Went down this guy's from the top of his thigh to the bottom of his shorts.
He came out of that swimming area. I mean, he was ghost white. And it was like a scream. It wasn't like a huge commotion. So I'm like, oh my God. And of course, that's the worst feeling when there's an emergency or, I mean, so many, like if you get the ranger, hey, there's a missing child and you're like, great, I'm on the stand. You know, it's like in your area.
Oh.
And I'm thinking if they're going to ask me to go into this water right now. And the guy came out and he's like, he could hardly talk. He was like, something ripped my shorts out there. It was big and like it had claws. And I was like,
that's Bubba.
It's a snapping turtle.
Yeah.
It's probably a snapping turtle. We can't confirm or deny, but why don't we clear the area? I think we did clear.
Oh, I'm sure we would have had to clear the area because everyone would have been too freaked out.
Which
we would have needed to make sure that he would get out to deeper waters.
The power you have when you have a whistle. The Tweedledee. All right, everybody out. And it's the best feeling in the world when you're a lifeguard, especially when you're at work and you're hungover and you're like, I get to clear the water.
Okay, let's
wait. Is that a motorcycle?
Wait. I've got one for you. What is every lifeguard's favorite thing on 3? 1, 2, 3, lightning.
Thunder. If you hear it, it can kill you. You would, and sometimes we would be like, okay, it definitely probably was more of a motorcycle. But if you look around or like a jet and you see people going, if the patrons are like, was that thunder? Or like, Yeah, it was.
It was.
Let's give it 15. Let's give it 30. Everybody clear.
And it was so...
And off the sand, you had to be back
off the sand because, hey, okay, this safety tip. And this is very serious. I'm not going to get into why, because that's a whole other thing. But in Annapolis, there was a very bad accident years ago. But if lightning strikes sand, it will strike you. So it is very dangerous.
It can travel.
It will travel through the sand. And so if we would hear thunder, we would have to. So if, in case you don't know this, because between our lifeguarding at Cunningham or just lifeguarding in general, and then Dad being, a lineman for the power company, we would learn all these things about storms.
Not a fear of an understanding.
A respect of,
And let's just say a lot of people at the beach are freaking idiots when it comes to that.
Well, or they're just completely unaware. And so if you would hear thunder, the concern isn't the thunder. It's obviously if you hear thunder, there's lightning. And so if we even heard a little bit of thunder, you'd have to push everybody back off that beach. So we would, knew where everybody was. They're up in the grass, nothing for us to do. There would be 10 of us sitting in that guard shack, laughing our asses off and playing.
Those were the best
for
days.
A solid at least 20
there were
minutes.
Days where it would go on and off.
And the best thing would be
we wanted to get paid too, because if the Rangers if it was raining all day long and the Rangers are like, hey,
you got to go home. We have to clock out.
We would have to clock out. And we got paid well, too. That's also why we were lifeguards, because you did have to pay to take your certifications and all that stuff, and it was a responsibility.
So yada, yada. So if you hear the clap of thunder, then you make everybody get back. But also, it's 20 minutes for every clap. So if it goes 19 minutes and then you hear a new one, boop, timer starts over, 20 minutes. Lightning, my friend. Lightning was 50 minutes or an hour.
Yep.
So if you saw lightning, and this would be, where we were in the mountains, it could be a darn near clear day and you would hear lightning.
Yeah.
Or to hear thunder.
Yeah, it was great. And then, yes, like you're saying, we liked everybody we worked with and we had fun. I mean, obviously.
We had a time.
It was Lindsay, Morgan, Sister Kiki, myself, Stacey, and then, like 5 other people. I think it was 10 total. But we were the majority of the staff. Yeah. So the other funny thing was, too, because, with Lindsay being the beach manager, it was like then we would bring in, and I remember our friends, the other lifeguards, would comment on it every once in a while. They're like, okay, Lindsay comes up with the schedule. Here's what we're working. We're like, no, don't do that. I don't want to be on Tuesday. Like, we would be like, no, Lindsay, don't. That schedule's not working. So sorry, Jinx.
Yeah, it would be like, of course she would have to, as the oldest, would have to make the schedule
manually
and then
write it out.
Manually write it out, and then everyone would complain about it, and she'd have to redo it or swap.
And she was always so kind of a manager. She would like ask for feedback before. What are your days?
What are your days?
There's always somebody that was like always on vacation. And oftentimes it was big groups, like churches even, because they would do a lot of baptisms.
Oh my God. Well, and that would
so they would get there early because they would be in the swimming area. It was the only area you're allowed to like get in the water. And they would do it before patrons would come and show up so they could be in the swimming area.
Right. And without,
doing full on, like big group in the water. I mean, also no disrespect, whatever your belief.
Real, yeah.
But walking into work and I don't know what what's going on. We're like, there's always people in robes in area 1.
No, they would literally be head to toe in a white robe, and depending upon how many people were getting baptized that day, it could be 2 people, it could be 10.
Yeah.
And so there would be, and it was just a part of the job. Like
it also would be like mouth watering all day because they'd set up grills and like it was like the smell of the most amazing food all day long.
The best thing would be when they would thank you and they'd bring you the plate.
Bring us a plate. We'd be like, God. Yeah, someone brought us barbecue.
Because we would obviously when they were doing the baptism or whatever, like we give them sure that there's space and we weren't being loud. Like, we don't go respectful. Don't go over to that area. Yeah. I don't think you worked that year when I think it was before you had your license. They tried to make us clean the bathrooms. And the bathrooms could get gross.
Oh, I do remember that.
They tried to make us clean the bathrooms.
No, I do remember that. I think I was actually, I think it was when I came on.
I'm sure it was probably
and I was like,
their job.
Because I specifically remember, because we never went into the public bathroom because we had a guard office.
Yeah, we had a guard office.
And I went in there and I was like,
they're disgusting.
No way.
Yeah.
And it was also supposed to be, it was a trash-free park, so you get like a bag when you come in and the patrons had to take it with them. And I'm like, okay, so maybe they can clean up their own poop.
Like literally people cleaning up poop.
Yeah, like no. I remember one time, okay, when Kiki and I worked, I have to say this story because when you said poop, Kiki, this is Stacey. Kiki and I worked in the boathouse, which was a shed that you would stand in at a cash register.
Yeah, because that was the thing. The lake was, again, this is an awesome facility. Go there now. Like you could rent all kinds of boats. So fun day for kids. Swimming in the lake, hiking to the falls. And so, yeah, like you guys worked the boathouse rentals.
Yeah. And so this one day, so what the boathouse, they had canoes, paddle boats, and rowboats. And so Kiki and I would, we would take people's money, make them sign the waiver, get them the right life jackets, and then help them get in the boat and help them come in. And hot as hell. Can't imagine how they're feeling today. It's like 100 degrees out. But it was a fun job. And it wasn't like a lot of stress because when you worked at the boathouse, you weren't rescuing. No. So we'll talk about the boat rescues next. But this one day, we go to help this guy coming in. And we had put them out on the boat. It was a dad, a couple kids on paddle. Granted, I realize I don't know, he could have had Crohn's disease or something. This guy gets off the paddle boat and runs there was a bathhouse. Remember how there was a bathroom randomly right by the boathouse? Yep. Shitting himself all down the dock, the boat dock. It's in front of it and to the point where because he tries to go to the bathroom closest. So it's like the floating dock was like metal, whatever, that was connected to this shed. But then there was a permanent structure that was a wooden deck, and there was human poop on the front of it. And I watched it happen. I watched it come out of his shorts, and then he just beelined it up for the car, did not even look back. So I had to take a hose and power wash this man's shit. And then boat, too. We were like, oh my God. Because I was like, what is happening? Because his kids were
was it in the boat?
Yeah, it was on. Not as much. It was definitely like mostly in his shorts at that point when he got up. I'm like, couldn't you dip down in the water and shit, man?
I mean, dude, I know you signed the waiver and you weren't supposed to get in the water.
Yeah, I would have been like, let me just jump in, hold on to this boat and poop.
Yeah.
But yeah, so humbling.
Oh my God, it was humbling. And there was always poop in the water.
Yeah.
We always had to pick up. Well, we would have to use the bags and you would have to scoop
we would
the poop
do a
out.
walk. We would go pick up trash some days randomly after like.
Oh, we always picked up trash. No, I'm saying when there would be poop floating in the swimming area. You didn't ever have that?
No, thank God.
Absolutely. And we would literally be like rock,
I do
paper,
remember
scissors.
that. I do remember that.
Because you would have to get it just
I do remember that.
like
I did not have to do it, but
poop,
I
the
do
water would
specifically
leak
remember
out.
that. People going in there with the bag. I'm like, thank God I won.
Yeah.
I did not get pulled that straw.
Oh my God.
But speaking of poop, I do remember days where we had to be shut down because there was like level of E. coli too high from like, I don't know. There's tons of runoff, right?
Well, so there was a ton of runoff.
Like the pH balance.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
And so we could come down and there would just be like all kinds of, essentially it would look like mulch was all over.
Ugh. And I had to, the thing that was so messed up too, when they made me do my swim test, which was not like.
Oh, I forgot they did do that when had runoff.
Hired. Because I don't think you and Lindsay ever actually had to technically do the test.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we had done it a ton, but we weren't tested.
Had the beach manager that was like the enforcer or something.
Oh, she was terrible.
And we had to swim, and it had rained really hard the day before, a couple of days leading up to it, to the point that like we actually had multiple days where it was closed at the beginning of the summer, where we were like there and cleaning up before there were like any patrons.
Basically, picture like tons of mulch and then big pieces of logs, like just all over and in the water. Flotsam and jetsam.
Tons of flotsam and jetsam. And my bathing suit after that swim test, I had so many branches and leaves down in it. It was disgusting.
Was that when she said you get wet? She used to love to say that to us in the morning.
She used to say lather up and get wet. Put on your sunblock.
Because we'd have to swim the mile and everything.
Yeah, and she didn't do anything.